Hey guys, welcome back to another Vanguard video. Today we're here talking about the 6 brand new promos that we expect to get in English by December to January. Right now they're coming out for JP for September to October. But, they're pretty exciting because we have new cards supporting random promos like Handbelt. We have Magnolia, Omnigruzio, Vermilion support, as well as some other interesting cards. So first off, we're going to start with the Magnolia one because it was basically on the thumbnail for the live stream. So we have Sylvan Horned Beast Marlgol. It has a continuous that if you have a Vanguard with Sylvan Horned Beast in its card name, it gets all the following. So it'll be active as soon as you're on basically your rad line for mag, because all of your rad line is Sylvan Horned Beast name. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard circle, you look at the cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of your units with Sylvan Horned Beast in its card name, so basically your rears and van. Choose up to one card from among them, discard it and shuffle your deck, then cost counterblast 1 and put the discarded card into your hand. So I think this card is actually amazing just looking at that alone, because not only are you getting free mill just from on place, and this works on place from anywhere, from drop, deck, off habitat, resing it from drop, whatever it may be. The fact that the cost counterblast 1 is then, you basically get that free mill and then later on decide if you want to spend that counterblast 1 in order to instead add it to your hand. So just amazing card on place, just free mill out of your deck pretty much. And then auto rearguard circle when this unit attacks. If you have a great Dragritter Vanguard with Magnolia its card name, you cost Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k on a turn. If your opponent's Vanguard's great Dragritter, you choose one of your other units with Sylvan Horned Beast its card name, and it gets plus 5. So, amazing. I think the first skill just basically being free is just insane. Again, it's on place anywhere. It's not like Philander where you have to place it from hand. And being able to just selectively mill cards from top is really good because Magnolia can then play lower ratios of their really good rears more consistently and put them out. So, that will include like the Maple, that includes anything that like reses, anything that checks top 7, such as the new card we looked at last week that finds your Persona rides. So I think this is overall just a pretty big upgrade from Mag. I don't really see this being too expensive unless Mag really starts popping off. I think this is a bigger definitely consistency boost for Magnolia Mask because this is a free mill for any of your pieces. This can mill Mask of Hydreigon because it's choose up to one card, not unit card. It could be an order card as well. You can mill any of your pieces you need, such as Cyril or whatever else you're playing to, set up your Persona ride, or also your Wretches as well to get your Dragon Tree markers, which is a little bit more consistent as well. And then, of course, you always have that choice to CB1, add it to your hand, but usually, you'll probably res it off of order instead without using a CB cost. But yeah, honestly, amazing card for Mag. So next up we have Infusion Angel, and this thing supports Helmveld. So at first I knew it was a promo, but I had no clue what Helmveld is. Like I had to remind myself. So I checked and it's this unit right here. It's the one that, when you play an order, you get to basically restand a column if you added it off the top for CB1. And then it also gives plus 5k to your front row and boost. So basically just another grade 3 generic boss. So this card actually restands a whole column, so you get 2 column restands. So anyways, let's go over the card first. So auto when placed on rearguard circle, you choose a grade 3 card with Helmveld in its card name for your ride deck, and you may reveal it. If you reveal the card, or you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Helmveld in its card name, cost energy plus 3, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose a normal order without Regulus piece from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So of course you can't grab Blitz orders because his gimmick is grabbing normal orders, but pretty good. Of course you can grab Wisdom, a lot of the other normal orders that don't use CB to call, such as Soul Blast 1 and whatnot. So amazing card. Having to use energy instead of CB or Soul is really good to finding an order. Then auto rearguard circle when your unit is either stand by the ability of your Vanguard with Helmveld in its card name, or placed on rearguard circle by ability of your Vanguard with Helmveld in its card name, because it depends on what you reveal with him basically. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, you cost counterblast 1, stand all of your rearguards in the same causes unit, and this unit gets plus 5 until end of turn. So pretty good. Kind of sucks it has to be in the front row because it doesn't have any con that's giving it power for that first swing besides, Helmveld's plus 5. So, a 8 booster plus this, it'd be like 23, 33. So it won't be that big of a poke, but, it could still be hitting magic numbers. Overall, I think if you're a Helmveld fan, this is a pretty big, coming because, you get 5 swings now. You get 2 column restands, which is actually pretty big. I think being locked to a 4 attack deck in standard is usually pretty death unless you have like a gimmick to your deck. For example, like Artisar having lock to slow down gameplay, or you have really big numbers or good grind game like Ava, let's say. But I mean, Ava is a really old deck. But yeah, the point is that this is a really big upgrade. Not having to spend, again, any counterblast or soul to find your orders is really nice. It's just on place. You basically don't have to play, you could still play Biscotti and other, Energy Boss 3 cyclers, but, this makes it a little bit more convenient. And then, of course, the CB1 for column reset is really good. Thing is, you don't really have, really good counter charge outside of, like, Dissection Angel from set 9. Maybe you could play Turnar or something else, but if you have Turnar in the front row, you're not having a really big beater, that's getting a billion power in the front row, so you know, your columns still aren't that big. So, you know, is this really making Hellveld relevant? Honestly, no, to be honest. But it is a really cool card. I hope we do get it just to mess around with. I think JP Fight videos will have a lot of fun with this. And, you know, it's still a column restand. Like, you can't underestimate that. But, you know, Hellveld really is just Caterpile. But, you know, Caterpile is good. You know, you got Teethful, Wisdom. Or, you know, you don't even have to. You just throw whatever the heck else. And, you know, you're already making a board rushing down your opponent. That's good enough. You know, Keter Fusion, Caterpile, forever. So, yeah. So next up, we have Dragritter Kareem, and he's the continuous that if you have a Vanguard with only Narukami for its clan, this card is only from Narukami. Then if you have a Dragritter Vanguard with Vermilion, its card, it gets all the following, so unfortunately it would not work, sadly. If you got like a Vanquisher deck set, kind of sucks. But anyways, auto, when it's placed on rearguard circle, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them, discard it, and shuffle your deck. So this could set up like your Rising Phoenixes, whatnot. You know, at worst, it's just milling out a non-trigger. Then auto rearguard circle, when this unit boosts a Vanguard, you cost counterblast 1, choose one of your front row rearguards, bind it, and draw 1. So basically giving Vermilion extra draw. You had the back row booster to E3 draw 1, now you have counterblast draw. So if you don't want to commit a bunch of your CB to basically, you know, finishing off your opponent because you kind of want to play for your turn, you know, on your Persona Ride turn to finish them off, where you have a lot of big attacks, where Rising Phoenix is getting a lot of more power, then you can kind of like commit to more of drawing. Then you can kind of commit more of your resources in order to live, you know, CB and Energy Blast to draw, because Vermilion really has a really small hand, especially after it commits a lot of resources. A lot of people were playing the deck as a lot of like kind of gun-ho, glass cannon-y deck, like just go out as fast as you can and try to take down your opponent on turn 3, because you have that ping from, you know, the blood that could potentially knock them out as soon as you ride up, you know, on that swing. But I do think this is kind of a bigger upgrade from Vermilion, because, you know, really this card just reads free on play selectively mill out of deck, which is crazy. And then it also shuffles, which is really nice. So you can just deck in a non-trigger. And then, you know, you just get CB1, kill off whatever rare you don't really need. It could be like the grade 3 or, you know, again, Rising Phoenix. You just bind it, draw 1, and just, you know, kind of keep your hands so you can kind of live one more turn and then finish him off on the next turn. So honestly, kind of interesting card. Kind of wish it would like had future, you know, use for maybe for like Vanquisher or something, but like unfortunately it is just Vermilion locked. So next up we have Thorns of Gourmet, Nizlogg. So this is auto. If your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, this card can also be paid with Energy Blast 3 and discard a grade 3 or greater card from your hand, and this will usually be masked because this is Omnigruzio support. So unplaced on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Evil Eye in its card name, cost Soul Blast 2, discard a grade 3 or greater card from your hand, and draw 2. So usually you'll be paying again that Energy Blast 3, discard a grade 3 or greater card because you do want to keep Soul and Omnigruzio. It is a little bit of a resource, even though you are shoving in rears for the restand cost. But yeah, still pretty nice, like draw 2. Then auto rearguard circle on attack. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Evil in its card name and your bind zone has 1 or more unit triggers, this unit gets +5 until end of battle. If it has 4 or more trigger units, +10 instead of +5. So pretty easy condition, I would say, because like both Evil Eyes are basically binding one each, and then like by the time you get this out, or at least on your Persona Ride turn, it should be getting that +10. So not really too much to say, except it's a nice consistency booster for the deck. I kind of wish Omnigruzio maybe had something to kind of stop deck out, but I don't think that's the biggest issue for the deck right now. Honestly, it's gotten a lot of draw between the main set support and like this promo, so I think the deck is actually looking a little bit more playable, but this doesn't really, you know, resolve any of the problems that the deck really had, you know. But, you know, like, you know, Omnigruzio is kind of like a rabbit hole of a deck. I do think it's one of the more interesting standard decks, to be honest, especially in terms of design. But they're definitely really afraid to make it, like, too good, you know, in terms of, like, push power and deck thinning. But, you know, yeah, I mean, deck thinning when you're taking out one of your own triggers to nullify your opponent's triggers, right? So, yeah, honestly, great card, just not exactly what Evil Eye needed. Alright, so next up we have Gravidia support. So we have Gravidia Tishint. So auto when this is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with a Gravidia in its card name, you cost counterblast and draw 1. So if you're playing Gravidia Rhineline instead of Orphis, this will be active early, so it's technically an early game card, but I think burning a CB is feels pretty terrible in, you know, Gravidia, because usually you want to swing Van first and pop. So if you get CB denied or you're low on CB, it feels really bad. But if you got rushed, you know, this is not bad to just CB1 draw 1 and you have 10k body. Then auto rearguard circle when this unit attacks. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Nordlinger as card name, this unit gets +5k until on a battle. And at the end of the battle, you cost Energy Blast 3. Retire this unit, choose a unit card with Gravidia and its different card name for your drop and put it into your hand. I think that effect is amazing. The CB draw 1 effect will come up, don't get me wrong. Usually your CB is usually going to Van or Combine Rusher. Though, I mean, at this point, you don't need Combine Rusher. It's just a very good card still, because it is a reoccurring attacker, and you will run out of resources when you are kind of just, like, trying to either high roll with Mask. Actually, I don't really think you have. You're probably playing in Ride Line, honestly. I don't think you have space to like play more than one main deck Combat Rusher, especially in like Mask Gravidia. But yeah, being able to Energy Blast 3, grab a Gravidia back is really good, because especially in Mask build where you are playing an extra Gravidia to remove, being able to grab either back that fodder, or I mean, you can remove from drop, being able to grab back that fodder or a Persona Ride for next turn is really big, because especially on base Gravidia, if you're not playing the Mask build, every time you place Gravidia and put those meteors in, you're just drawing 2 cards, and that's not even counting your draw 1 from Persona Ride. So honestly, I think this is probably the best Gravidia card that the deck has gotten in a while, just because it salvages a Persona Ride. Like, that is, I think, really, really big for the deck, because that was definitely one of the biggest problems of Gravidia for a very long time. Mask, not too much of an issue, because you do have, like, I guess, better ways to kind of find it. But yeah, this being able to just guarantee it, yeah, at worst, you could, you end up having to ditch like a Mask, you're playing Gravidia Mask, you end up having to ditch one, you can always just salvage it back, and then boom, you got Persona Ride, or your follow-up to just Mask up going second, just try to explode your opponent and play catch-up. But yeah, honestly, not a bad card. I think it's probably one of the better promos here, but Gravidia is still kind of in a really, really weird spot in terms of like, especially Bread and Gate decks right now. But yeah, honestly, a good card for Gravidia. So next up, we have Rainy Dai Sierra, and this card is a Lilfa support, but it's grade 2, but thankfully has a continuous rearguard circle in hand during your turn. If you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Lilfa, its card name, it gets grade +1 and power +5k, so thankfully you can call this early, but it is a grade 3, so you can target it for a Lilfa skill. Then auto when placed on rearguard circle, if you have Vanguard with Lilfa, its card name, you cost counter +1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or greater unit card with a different name from this unit, call it to rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. That is honestly really good. Does nothing for whiffing, but most of your decks are grade 3s. You can't grab grade 3, order cards, obviously, or blitz orders, because it's, unit card, but still really good nonetheless. This tutors like all of your pieces pretty much, which is absolutely amazing. And check top 7 instead of top 5 is just really good. Then as the auto rearguard circle skill, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Lilfa's card name, soul boss 1 or 2, choose up to the number of rearguards equal to the number of cards soul boss for this cost, and return them to your hand. So a lot of the Lilfa cards require you to basically bounce and then call, so you can reuse like on places, for example, and then they won't go back to your hand afterwards unless you use, let's say, the Octavia Ace unit effect or the grade 3 generic festival, which you are probably definitely playing in Lilfa. So this plus that grade 3 festival generic that we covered in the Ace unit tier list is really good, because essentially you're now putting back up to essentially 3 grade 3s back to your hand, which is amazing for Lilfa. So you can actually keep living and keep having, attackers for next turn and, having their on places. So honestly, I think this is one of the best promos out of the batch. I'm not sure if this will necessarily make Lilfa playable, because I know if this actually solves the deck's problems, but like, this card is amazing. It's an early game card just to find your pieces. The fact that it can also call grade 2s, it's grade 2 or greater units is really big as well. So you could call generics like Valifer, like it is kind of CB heavy to CB1. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to note that this card can basically just CB1 and call out basically any grade 2 or greater card from your deck that is, a unit card, which is pretty amazing, because any other future promo, that is, a grade 2 or, not a grade 3 can be called. And of course, you could always call generics, whatever you need to throw in, such as, French head or whatever you want to basically just jam into Lilfa. But again, most of the time, your deck will be mostly grade 3s, because Lilfa is basically Bastion. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That basically does it from me for these promos. I do think they're actually a pretty good batch of promos, a little bit better than last month. Thing is, they're just not really changing much of how the decks play, which is, not that surprising for promos. They're kind of just like supporting what the decks already do. I think the big outliers are definitely the Magnolia one. The Magnolia one seems amazing. Lilfa, this one just does so much for the deck, honestly, but I'm not sure if it really pushes the ceiling of the deck is the thing. Like, it's still doing the same thing that it was doing before. I think the Gravidia card is very interesting. Being able to grab Persona Rides is really great. The Vermilion card is also really good. Like, being able to just, like, CB draw 1 is really nice if you're not using your CB, like, for your kill turn. I think the Omnigruzio card is also pretty fine. Like, draw 2 can't be bad, really, and it's also an attacker. And the Helmbuild card is kind of, because Helmbuild is just Keter Pile, but it is a whole column restand, so I think Helmbuild mains are pretty happy about it. But yeah, that pretty much does it for me for this Vanguard video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of these promos. I might do another video on this. I finished editing the one for basically this month's promos for English, and I'll probably release it tomorrow, roughly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, the usual stuff, and I'll see you another time in another video.